As you have probably heard by now, when trying to build muscle as effectively as possible, getting enough high-quality protein is extremely important. But how much do you need per day? Some people in the fitness industry say that 0.7 grams per pound is absolutely fine, and some people say that you need to get as much as 1.5 grams per pound. And it can be very confusing when everyone is contradicting each other. And that is why in this video I'm going to be breaking down as simply as I can everything that you need to know in order to get enough protein per day to build muscle optimally. And I'm going to put some links to some different studies in the description so you know that everything I'm saying isn't just being made up. The points we are going to go through in this video is going to be number 1, how much protein you need to get per day. Number 2, adjusting your protein intake based on how your body responds and also on your age, because that does have an impact on your protein requirements. Number 3, how much protein you want to get per meal, and number 4 is going to be the best food sources to get your protein. But before I get into all that, like always, let me just really quickly introduce myself. My name is Alphonse. Here we talk about how to maximize the results from a training with as little time spent in the gym, with as little risk of injury as possible. As you obviously can see, I'm far from the biggest guy giving fitness advice on YouTube, but I'm an absolute super mega nerd when it comes to everything about fitness and exercise, and I've been completely obsessed with learning as much as I possibly can about it ever since I was 14 years old. And so if you're humble enough to listen to someone like me who isn't absolutely huge and might even be smaller than you who's watching this right now, then I could definitely teach you some stuff and help you to make some better progress and avoid having to spin your wheels, making little to no progress like I first did when I first started training and knew absolutely nothing about any of this stuff. But anyways, let's get to the first point. How much protein do you need to eat per day? The answer to this question is pretty simple. Minimum 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. And these numbers, by the way, are regardless of if you are bulking or if you're cutting. But these numbers also assume that you are at a reasonable body fat percentage, that you are not over fat, meaning that you are below 25% body fat for males and below 35% body fat for females. If you are not below those body fat percentages, in order to calculate how much protein you would need to eat per day, you would need to first find out how much you would weigh with a somewhat average body fat percentage. So that would be about 16% body fat for males and 24% body fat for females. Now the way you would do that is by first finding out your lean body mass, which is your body weight without all of the fat on it. Now the best way to find out your lean body mass is by first finding out your body fat percentage, and the best way to do that is by using either something like a BIA scale, a bioelectrical impedance analysis scale, having someone take measurements with skin fold calipers on you to find out your body fat percentage, or using something like a DEXA scan to find out your body fat percentage. But either way how you do it, when you've then found out what your body fat percentage is, you want to find out how many pounds or kilograms of fat you have on your body. Let's say, for example, you are a man and you are 200 pounds and about 30% body fat. In that case, you would take your total body weight, which is 200 pounds, times 0.7 to remove 30% of your weight, so that 30% that is fat, and then you would have your lean body mass, which in this case would be about 140 pounds. Then you would take your 140 pounds of lean body mass times 1.16 to find out what you would weigh if you were about 16% body fat. And of course the exact same procedure goes for if you are a woman as well. The only difference is that you take your lean body mass times 1.24 instead of 1.16, so you want to find out what would weigh at about 24% body fat. But anyways, of course, when you then know how much you would weigh at that reasonable body fat percentage, you just take that weight in pounds times 1 to find out how many grams of protein you would want to eat per day. Alright, so now you know how much protein you need to be eating per day. The next point is going to be How do we adjust your protein intake based on your individual response, because everyone is going to be a little bit different, and also on your age, because that does actually have an impact on how much protein you need to be eating. Alright, so right away I can say that these numbers that I've given you so far that say how much protein you want to get per day, per pound of body weight, and per kg of body weight is in the high end of the range of protein intake that most studies show can be effective for building muscle. And while research shows that a range of anywhere from 1.6 to 2.4 grams per kilogram, or about 0.7 to 1.1 grams of protein per pound of body weight can be effective for building muscle, I would still like to see you err on the high end of the range of protein intake to account for errors in measurement and nutrition labels, and also to account for individual variability in efficiency of digestion, absorption, and utilization of that protein. And you're also just better off getting more protein than you need than less protein than you need, because less protein than you need is going to hurt your progress, but getting more protein than you need isn't going to hurt your progress. But anyways, like I said earlier, these numbers that I gave you in how much protein you want to get per kg and per pound of body weight per day are regardless of if you are bulking or if you are cutting. However, some research suggests that if you're in a calorie deficit, increasing your protein intake all the way from 1 gram per pound of body weight to 1.4 grams per pound of body weight, or from 2.2 grams per kilogram all the way up to 3.2 grams per kilogram can be beneficial for maintaining or even building muscle during a calorie deficit. But I would say that if you are in a calorie deficit, start with 1 gram per pound of body weight like usual and see how you do. If your lifts in the gym are starting to regress, meaning that you are losing strength and muscle mass, or if your BIA scale or DEXA scan or whatever you're using to measure your body composition is telling you that you are losing a lot of lean body mass, then you might not be getting enough protein and you might need to bump it up a little bit. Or it could also be that your calorie deficit is too large. But anyways, I also told you that I was going to help you to adjust your protein intake based on your age, because that does actually have an impact on how much protein you need to be consuming per day. And the reason for this is because as you get older, after a certain point, your body starts to become worse at absorbing and utilizing the protein that you are consuming, and so you are going to need to consume more in order to compensate for that. And so according to most research on this topic, for every year over 30 that you're going to want to increase your protein intake per day by about 1.5%. And luckily this does not compound. So if you're 31 years old, you just increase it by 1.5%. If you're 32 years old, you just increase it by 3%. If you're 33 years old, you increase it by 4.5%, and so on and so forth. But anyways, moving on to the next point, which is how much protein do you want to be getting per meal. For optimal muscle growth, you want to try to spread out your protein as evenly as possible over, I would say, at least 3 to 4 evenly spaced meals. Now, the reason we want to spread out our protein across the day instead of just eating it all in one sitting is because, as most of you have probably heard, when we consume protein, we increase muscle protein synthesis, but only up to a certain point. And this point seems to be about 0.4 to 0.55 grams per kilogram, or 0.18 to 0.25 grams of protein per pound of total body weight. Again, given that you're not over fat. And so these numbers that I just gave you, you can use in order to find out how much protein you're going to be able to eat per meal, and then see how many meals you're going to need to spread that out over in order to be able to hit your protein target. But anyways, moving on to the last point, which is what is the best food sources for your protein. Both animal and plant proteins can be used to build muscle, but unfortunately, animal proteins are going to be more effective. Plant proteins does have less of an anabolic effect due to the lower digestibility, lower essential amino acid content, especially leucine, and also deficiency in other amino acids such as sulfur amino acids and lysine. It is also a lot easier to consume more protein with fewer calories from animal protein than it is by using plant protein, making animal protein a better option also for fat loss. And again, believe me, I really wish it wasn't this way, but unfortunately it is. And I know there's also going to be some people who really are not going to want to believe this. So because of that, I'm going to link some studies on this topic down in the description as well. But with that being said, that's all for this video, guys. I really hope you liked it, and I really hope you found it useful. If you felt like you learned at least something from this video, then please don't forget to leave at least a like on this video. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future from me with useful fitness tips, then don't forget to also click that subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can be notified the next time I upload. But with that being said, I'll see you boys in the next video next time. Peace.